Bhaja Govindam, verse 24. Equanimity. Tvayi Mayi Chanya traiko Vishnuh Vyartham Kupyasi Mayyasa hisnuh Bhava Samacittah Sarvatra tvam Vanchasyacirad yadi Vishnutvam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. In you, in me, and in other places too, there is but one all-pervading reality. Being impatient, you are unnecessarily getting angry with me. If you want to attain enlightenment, Vishnutvam, be equal-minded in all circumstances. Seek Govinda, O foolish mind. Let us now listen to a story based on this verse. Once, King Janaka, the enlightened Rajarishi, fell at sage Ashtavakra's feet. He said to Ashtavakra, "What am I going to do with my kingdom and my palace? These things are not important to me anymore. I just want to sit at your feet. Please let me stay with you in your ashram in the forest." But Ashtavakra replied, "Now that you have attained, your life is no more about your likes and dislikes. Your life is no more about your needs because you have none actually. Your people deserve an enlightened king. You must stay as their king." Reluctantly, Janaka stayed back in his palace and governed his kingdom with great wisdom. Janaka was a true blessing to his people because he was a fully enlightened master, but he functioned as a king. In India, many sages and saints were once kings and emperors who willingly and voluntarily gave away everything they had and walked as beggars with great dignity. There have been many like this: Gautama Buddha, Mahavira, Bahubali. But an enlightened king was a rare being. Janaka remained a king, but as often as possible, whenever his regal responsibilities gave him some time, he would visit Ashtavakra in his ashram. At the ashram, Ashtavakra had gathered a few monks who were being taught by him. These monks slowly began to resent Janaka because whenever he came, Ashtavakra went out of his way and spent a lot of time with the king because they had such a good rapport with each other. The moment Janaka came, both of them lit up. With the monks whom Ashtavakra was teaching, he did not light up the same way. There was something between Janaka and Ashtavakra which was resented by the monks. The monks would whisper to each other, "Why has our guru sold out to a man like that? It looks like our guru is getting corrupted. This man is a king. He lives in a palace. He has got so many wives and so many children. He has so much wealth. Look at the way he walks. He walks like a king. And look at the way he is dressed. Look at the ornaments he wears. What is spiritual about him that our guru should even pay attention to this man? We are here totally dedicated to our spiritual process. We have come here as monks, but he is just ignoring us." Ashtavakra knew that this feeling was growing among his monks. So one day, he arranged for something to happen. He was sitting and speaking to the monks in a hall, and King Janaka was also present. As the discourse was going on, a soldier came barging into the room, bowed down to Janaka, but not to Ashtavakra, and said, "Oh king, the palace is on fire. Everything is burning. The whole kingdom is in disarray." Janaka got up and just yelled at the soldier, "Get out of here! How dare you come and disturb the satsang? And how dare you bow down to me and not to my guru? Just get out of here!" The soldier fled from the room. Janaka sat back down and Ashtavakra continued to speak. A few days later, Ashtavakra set up something else. All of them were once again seated in the hall and Ashtavakra was giving a discourse. Right in the middle of the discourse, a helper in the ashram came running into the hall and said, "The monkeys have taken the clothes off the clothesline and are playing havoc with the monks' garments." All the monks immediately got up and ran to save their clothes. They did not want the monkeys to tamper with them. But when they got to the clothes drying area, there were no monkeys and their loin clothes were still hanging on the clothesline. They realized what had happened. They hung their heads down and walked back. Then, as a part of the discourse, Ashtavakra said, "Look at this. This man is a king. A few days ago, his palace was burning. His whole kingdom was in turmoil. Wealth at its peak was burning. But his concern was that his soldier disturbed the satsang. That was his concern. You are monks. You have nothing. You don't have a palace. You don't have a wife. You don't have children. You have got nothing. But when the monkeys came and picked up your clothing, you ran. Most people would not use your clothing even as mop cloths. This is the kind of clothing you wear. But for that loin cloth, without even paying attention to what I was saying, you just ran out to save those worthless pieces of cloth. Where is your renunciation?" He is a true renunciate. He is a king, but he is a renunciate. You are monks. You are using the things that other people discard, but there is no renunciation in you. This is where you are, and that is where he is. One's progress within oneself has nothing to do with what a person does on the outside. What is most important is what a person is doing within him or herself. What we are doing with the outside world is just social. We conduct ourselves as it is suitable for the situation in which we exist. It has social relevance, but no existential or spiritual relevance. How we are within ourselves is all that matters. There are various facets in each one of us. There is superficial me, there is an essential me, there is a social me and a spiritual me. There is a circumference and a center. We are lost in the circumference, in the superficial world, and hence miss the essential. The whole search of a spiritual person is for this essential me, the center in oneself. The core of oneself is all pervading. If this oneness is seen all around, the differences will not create chaos. For example, the body has eyes, ears, nose, hands, legs, and each function differently. Each look different, but the total individual is one. It is like the phenomenon of electricity, which is one entity called as energy, but it manifests in a bulb, in a fan, in a refrigerator differently. But the source is one entity of electrical energy. The soul in all of us is one reality. It appears as if there is duality in form and shape. If such duality is perceived in life with misunderstanding, one is bound to be in illusion. But if one sees non-duality in all of them, one sees the reality of Vishnutvam. Hence, if one wants to attain enlightenment, one must train ourselves to consciously look everything as one and face every situation without disturbing our state of mind. This requires a lot of sadhana and practice. Now, story for the students. Karl was a quiet man. He didn't talk much. He would always greet you with a big smile and a firm handshake. Even after living in our neighborhood for over 50 years, no one could really say they knew him very well. Before his retirement, he took the bus to work each morning. The lone sight of him walking down the street often worried us. He had a slight limp from a bullet wound received in World War II. Watching him, we worried that although he had survived the World War II, he may not be able to make it through our changing uptown neighborhood with its ever-increasing random violence, gangs, and drug activity. When he saw the flyer at our local church asking for volunteers for caring for the gardens behind the minister's residence, he responded in his characteristically unassuming manner. Without fanfare, he just signed up. He was well into his 87th year when the very thing we had always feared finally happened. One day, he was just finishing his watering for the day when 3 gang members approached him. Ignoring their attempt to intimidate him, he simply asked, "Would you like a drink from the hose?" The tallest and toughest looking of the 3 said, "Yeah, sure," with a malevolent little smile. As Karl offered the hose to him, the other 2 grabbed Karl's arm, throwing him down. As the hose snaked crazily over the ground, dousing everything in its way, Karl's assailants stole his retirement watch and his wallet and then fled. Karl tried to get himself up, but he had been thrown down on his bad leg. He lay there, trying to gather himself as the minister came running to help him. Although the minister had witnessed his attack from the window, he couldn't get there fast enough to stop it. "Karl, are you okay? Are you hurt?" the minister kept asking as he helped Karl to his feet. Karl just passed a hand over his brow and sighed, shaking his head. "Just some punk kids. I hope they will wise up someday." His wet clothes clung to his slight frame as he bent to pick up the hose. He adjusted the nozzle again and started to water. Confused and little concerned, the minister asked, "Karl, what are you doing?" "I have to finish my watering. It's been very dry lately," came the calm reply. Satisfying himself that Karl really was all right, the minister could only marvel. Karl was a man from a different time and place. A few weeks later, the three returned. Just as before, their threat was unchallenged. Karl again offered them a drink from his hose. This time, they didn't rob him. They wrenched the hose from his hand and drenched him head to foot in the icy water. When they had finished their humiliation of him, they sauntered off down the street, throwing catcalls and curses, falling over one another, laughing at the hilarity of what they had just done. Karl just watched them. Then he turned toward the warmth-giving sun, picked up his hose, and went on with his watering. The summer was quickly fading into fall. Karl was doing some tilling when he was startled by the sudden approach of someone behind him. He stumbled and fell into some evergreen branches. As he struggled to regain his footing, he turned to see the tall leader of his summer tormentors reaching down for him. He braced himself for the expected attack. "Don't worry, old man. I'm not going to hurt you this time." The young man spoke softly, still offering the tattooed and scarred hand to Karl. As he helped Karl get up, the man pulled a crumpled bag from his pocket and handed it to Karl. "What's this?" Karl asked. "It's your stuff," the man explained. "It's your stuff bag. Even the money in your wallet." "I don't understand," Karl said. "Why would you help me now?" The man shifted his feet, seemingly embarrassed and ill at ease. "I learned something from you," he said. "I ran with that gang and hurt people like you. We picked you up because you were old and we knew we could do it. But every time we came and did something to you, instead of yelling and fighting back, you tried to give us a drink. You didn't hate us for hating you. You kept showing love against our hate." He stopped for a moment. "I couldn't sleep after we stole your stuff, so here it is back." He paused for another awkward moment, not knowing what more was there to say. "That bag's my way of saying thanks for straightening me out, I guess." And with that, he walked off down the street. Karl looked down at the sack in his hands and gingerly opened it. He took out his retirement watch and put it back on his wrist. Opening his wallet, he checked for his wedding photo. He gazed for a moment at the young bride that still smiled back at him from all those years ago. He died one day, after Christmas that winter. Many people attended his funeral in spite of the weather. In particular, the minister noticed a tall young man that he didn't know sitting quietly in the distant corner of the church. The minister spoke of Karl's garden as a lesson in life. In a voice made thick with unshed tears, he said, "Do your best and make your garden as beautiful as you can. We will never forget Karl and his garden." The following spring, another flyer went up. It read, "Person needed to care for Karl's garden." The flyer went unnoticed by the busy people until one day when a knock was heard at the minister's office door. Opening the door, the minister saw a pair of scarred and tattooed hands holding the flyer. I believe this is my job, if you will have me, the young man said. The minister recognized him as the same young man who had returned the stolen watch and the wallet to Karl. He knew that Karl's kindness had turned this man's life around. As the minister handed him the keys to the garden shed, he said, "Yes, go, take care of Karl's garden and honor him." The man went to work, and over the next several years, he tended the flowers and vegetables just as Karl had done. During that time, he went to college, got married, and became a prominent member of the community. But he never forgot his promise to Karl's memory and kept the garden as beautiful as he thought Karl would have kept it. One day, he approached the new minister and told him that he couldn't care for the garden any longer. He explained with a shy and a happy smile, "My wife just had a baby boy last night, and she's bringing him home on Saturday." "Well, congratulations," said the minister as he handed the garden shed keys. "That's wonderful. What's the baby's name?" "Karl," he replied. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Love has the power to transform. Never underestimate the power of love. Love is the only solution for a loving and peaceful world. Cultivate the habit of tolerance and forgiveness from young. Always put yourselves in others' shoes. Think how you would have faced a similar situation. That is, in a similar situation where others' reaction or behavior is affecting you. Even if you feel that you would have reacted rather than responding to that situation in a better manner, give benefit of doubt to the other person. Try to understand them before impatiently judging or criticizing them. At a younger age, when you develop the habits of patience, love, forgiveness, compassion, at a later age, it will become your nature. And one day it will lead you to understand the actual purpose of life and also attain it. Jai Sai Ram.